variable ND filter systems. I bought these a few months ago and I've been using them for a while for different kinds of shoots, real estate, run and gun. So this is the ring that goes on your camera. You can see the red part around it. So you're not gonna be able to fit a lens hood or your normal lens cap. It'll come with a lens cap, but if you buy more than one, like I have for a couple of my different lenses, you're gonna have to buy lens caps. So you'll be looking at spending an extra $20, $30 on step-up rings and then a couple other lens caps. But you can see where the little Freewell logo is right here, where my finger is, right? We're just gonna take that, and then all we're gonna do is drop it and match it to this logo right on that side. So we're just gonna take it and drop it right in there and have it match up. And that's how you use it. Super easy to get in. And then you can easily just pop your finger in there, right? In and out, and get it the way you need to be. But this is also gonna work as a base. See that A right there? You're just gonna match that up with the A that's on here. So then you just line them up like this, and now we're good. And now you can see we'll go to that, right where that is, right? And we're just gonna turn it, and now we can go 2 to 5. So I realized I never showed what the filters look like, so we're gonna jump into that quick. Here's the case it comes with. Very nice little case. You have this little thing back here, I guess if you wanna put on a belt. I don't know what that's for, so if somebody knows, like, let me know. But we're just gonna open this up, right? And here's a little spot to hold some SD cards if you need it. And then this little area right here, if you pull this, look at that. They all pop out if you need to. And we're just gonna go row by row. This is the first thing I'll pull out. This is the base VND. You have to have this in there in order to actually use your VND filters. You don't need it if you're using the CPLs, but you see this, you gotta have this in there. And see this notch up here, like we talked about, you have to have that. That's gonna line up with the notch in here. This is the part that goes on your camera that we talked about, right? You're just gonna see where that notch is right there, line up the logos together, and there you go. And now you have your base VND. This is gonna give you that one stop of light. You can kind of see the difference between it right here versus out here. By looking at that mic, I'll move it, but you see the difference? Yeah, right there. So there you go, that's the difference. Super easy, but then we're gonna jump into the next thing that comes with it, which is probably my favorite one. This is another base VND, but this is actually a missed one, so you can get that really cool diffusion when you wanna use it with your ND filters. It comes out really nice. I have a part later in the video, we'll talk about that, but it's the same thing, right? You're just gonna take that little top portion right there, line it up with this one, just line up the two logos again, drop them in there, and now we're good. So this is another cool thing. Plus it gives you that one-stop drop if you need it. So if you don't want to use your variable NDs and you just want to use something like this and have that mist diffusion, you can absolutely do that. Now the ones that you are actually caring about, here's the 2 to 5 stop, right? And all you got to do, like we talked about, is match those little A's up that are on the side. And here you go. Here's your 2 to 5. Is look, you turn it around and you have a CPL. So you don't need 2 different sets of glass. You can go from one side if you need your 2 to 5, and then you just switch it quick, and now you're at a CPL. Just a quick thing to note is it says CPL right here, and that's pointing towards the camera. So you just have to remember it's the opposite. So what the subject would read is what's getting used. So right now I'm reading 2 to 5 stop. So if I turned it, we would get 2 to 5 stop. And if I turned it around and I'm seeing CPL as the subject, then I would be using a CPL. It's pointing away from you towards what the subject would read, that's what you're using. So lastly, the 6 to 9 stop variable ND. Look how dark that is. You can see the reflection of my monitor in the background. And then if we turn and I switch hands, right, I'm gonna move it over top of these mics. You can just see how dark that got, up, down, right? That's the 6 to 9 stop. So this is dark. And then if you turn it around, same thing. We've got a CPL on the back, but what's cool about this one is this is an ND32 CPL. And yeah, you can see some fingerprints because these are hard to get off because these magnets are strong, but you have that on the back. You see how dark that is? So here's our 2 to 5 stop. Here's our base. We're gonna do it without the base first and just see what the variable does. And then what we're gonna do is throw the base in there so y'all can see why it's needed. So here's the 2 to 5 stop. We matched the A's and have them lined up. And we're at 2 stops now, right? Here we go, 2 stops. And then we're gonna turn it to 5 stops and look, nothing, right? You don't notice any difference. It might have got a little darker, but that's because you're still gonna have one stop of glass in there. And now let's do the base VND in there and then do it. So here's the base VND. So we're gonna get a stop darker because it drops a stop of light in there and it's lined up, and then we're gonna throw that 2 to 5 on there, right? And you can see how dark it already is. And now we're at 2, and now we're at 5. Now we're at 2, now we're at 5. So you can see what the difference is. I talk about the CPL in another part of this video, but we'll just throw it on there again just so we have an indoor setting so you can maybe see it a little better. So we're gonna toss it on there, and look, all we're gonna do is twist it, and you can kind of see in my forehead, you can kind of see like up here in my forehead, the difference, right? Look how dark it's getting, and then as we rotate it, you can see where it's getting a little less shiny, a little more shiny. So that's what your CPL is gonna do. It's just gonna take that shininess off of your video a little bit. Like I said, it's nice to have, you need to get rid of reflections, like from a waterfall, from cars, glasses, anything like that. The CPL comes in handy. According to the Freewell website, it's 7 different functions, 20 different features that you can use with these. So you have to think about all the different features that come with it. If you're buying filters from a different company, maybe Polar Pro, whatever, some of those filters, just a single one, run $250 to $300 if you're getting the magnetic ones. So you can get 2 filters for $500, or you can get this whole setup that's got these 20 different functions for $400. And like I said, magnetic. So they're super easy and super convenient. All you gotta do is drop it on like that. And to me, that was the biggest selling point for me, was magnetic for run and gun shoots. I just gotta pop it on, pop it off, and we're good to go. Obviously, you have to have that base in there. So that is one part that I don't like, right? You have to throw that base in there like that. And that base has to stay in there the whole time. So if you're running and gunning, and you need to pop it off, you're gonna have that stop of light on there. So the image is gonna be a little dark. You might have to crank your ISO up a little more. You might have to crank your shutter speed up a little more, depending on what you're doing. But these do come in handy and have been a lifesaver depending on what you're doing. And see, that simple, that simple. Super dark, turn it back, super bright. So if you're doing events in your indoor setting, outdoor setting, and you just need to, oh, it's too dark, crap. Gotta pop this off, I don't need that anymore. Or, oh, it's too dark, it's not dark enough. We're outside, there we go, we're good to go. So just think about that when you're gonna buy these. There's a lot of different variations, a lot of different reasons you could get something like this. You can see how overexposed the image is, which is the importance of having an ND filter, right? Because we wanna have the proper exposure. And right now, we're 2 stops above being exposed. So we wanna throw these ND filters on and try to just tone it down so we can have a nice even exposure. Here's that base VND, and we're just gonna make sure that part right there is lined up inside the filter thread. And now that it's on there, you can see how it just darkened the image a little bit, but we still need more. And that's where the 2 to 5 stop, or because of how bright it is outside, I'm gonna throw the 6 to 9 stop on, and we're gonna see what it does. We made sure the A is lined up, and now we're at the 6 to 9 stop. So you can see it's a little dark, and if I turn it to the 9, you can see how dark this image is gonna get. So you're gonna have that base VND, which is a stop, and then you're gonna have this. But the reason those bases are in there is because VNDs, you have to have that in there in order for it to work for the 2 sets of glass. But the interesting thing is, if we pop this off and we look, see how it says ND 32 CPL, this is an ND filter and a CPL. Has about 5 stops, and you can see how it made the color pop a little bit. See how that red just pops immediately, right? And that's what your CPL is gonna do. It's gonna help with just making those colors pop better, and it's gonna help reduce reflection. This is the polarizer, the ND 32 polarizer. So you can see how it makes the colors in the back pop and how it makes the colors in the tattoo pop. And then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna switch it to the ND filter so y'all can see the difference between the CPL and the ND. So now we're about the same settings. We're at a +3 instead of the +7. You can see the background, how the colors aren't popping as much, and how the tattoos aren't popping as much. We jump back inside because the base VND mist will be easier to see this way because I have an RGB light and it was daytime outside, gonna be harder to see. So this is all it is. And we're doing the same thing. We're gonna make sure the logos match up, and we're gonna see what it looks like. So this is what the light looks like here. It doesn't really have that halation around the edges as much. You get a little bit, but not as much. But when you want something like that to get that film look, to get that vintage style feel, you see the difference. You see how it just protrudes to the side more. You get a lot more of it. And all I'm gonna do is turn this light up higher, and you can kind of see what it's doing, how it spreads out through almost the whole image on here. So keep that in mind if you want something like this, or you want to use something like this. This works really great to me at night, neon signs, different things like that. Now you see what it's like with it being off, right? And we're just gonna kind of throw it in front right there again, on, and then we're gonna take it off again. So it's really fun to play with. I love having one of these because I like having that kind of look, but if that's not your thing, maybe you don't use it. So just a quick rundown, you get the base VND that you have to use, you get the black mist base VND, and then you get your CPL, you get your 2 to 5 stop, you get your ND 32 CPL, and then you get your 6 to 9 stop. And the other cool thing is you can stack. So this is the 6 to 9 stop. So if you have the 2 to 5 on there and you need it even darker, you can see what you can do by stacking it and just how dark that got. Took both of them off. But the one thing I will say is these magnets can be pretty strong. So one thing I will say is you will definitely need to clean these a lot because it's very, very easy, as you can see on some of these, to get fingerprints on, right? Just from trying to take it off because your fingers will slip. And because of how small the area is, trying to slide it off or pull it apart, you're gonna have to get a good grip. You can pull it on these little edges right here. You can just take them, try to get them together and just pull them that way. This area right here is super thin, so you're definitely gonna get some fingerprints on here. You can see them all along the side. So keep that in mind when you're trying to pop these apart. What do you think happens to magnets when they're opposites? They don't go together, right? So watch this. Like, I'm gonna try to put this on there, I'll show y'all, but you can see how it just won't, it's like kind of pushing against it. That's not me, that's just it, the way it's pushing up. You can see the way I'm moving it, it just won't go against there. So keep that in mind. You can still use it, you're just gonna have to use it backwards. You're just gonna have to take this part right here, drop it on there. And there's enough of a gap. There is enough of a gap between this outer edge and the glass that it's not a big deal, but keep that in mind. So you may have to either put it on backwards or flip your filter around before you're done using it and throw it on there like that.